Hello, I am Yogini Sunita, and this is Meditation, Yoga, and Stuff podcast. I believe my dharma or my life's purpose is to share my understanding of meditation, yoga, and Ayurveda, holistic healing science of India. I make these amazing wisdoms accessible and adaptable for present times. So let's start.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today I'm going to answer some of your questions. I am answering these questions from the place of my own experience and my understanding of yoga and Ayurveda and meditation. So first question is Ayurveda vegetarian? In other words, what are Ayurveda's point of view about vegetarianism? So let's start with understanding that Ayurveda is a medical science. A creation of Ayurveda was done when humans started settling in the cities, and sages or wise beings at that time realized that we need different habit patterns than or wanderer's pattern. So they realized that life has drastically changed as we started settling down, and it was necessary to have positive habits. About vegetarianism, Ayurveda, as I said, it's a medical science. So Ayurveda is not vegetarian. In Ayurveda, you can, certain medical conditions, you need to have meat if needed. Also, depending on your dosha, so and also your profession, it will depend on that as well. So, if, for example, if you're a warrior, you may need more muscle mass, and also you may need that drive to fight. And so it makes sense that warrior having meat, and also a warrior's lifestyle at that point in ancient time was very difficult, so and even now I would say, the warrior need a different mindset. So for that, if you are going to have meat, that was okay. In fact, in Ayurveda, there are really good recipes how to cook different types of meat, because warriors will not necessarily find meat off the shelf, so they will be hunting in the jungle, and so they will find maybe wild boar or something of that sort. So how to cook that so it won't harm the system, and also cook with what you have. So Ayurveda gives that option as well. And also for certain health conditions, Ayurveda suggests that if you use a certain type of broth, you will feel better really fast. Now let's look at from the point of view of yogic point of view. It is not sattvic diet. So what is sattvic diet is basically sattva means purity, sattva means balance, sattva means diet which we have to bring peace and calm in our life. So for that purpose, and also if you're not a warrior, then we do not really need to consume meat. Also, if our health condition doesn't encourage us to have meat, so you can actually choose, then in that case, it's pure choice. Ayurveda doesn't diss that also. Ayurveda, it's really up to you. Because Ayurveda understand that we are unique fingerprint of divine. So if you choose vegetarianism, Ayurveda will fully support that and give you suggestions accordingly. And if you decide to eat meat, Ayurveda will help you with the right how to cook it correctly and then digest it. Though Ayurveda understands that it takes our system a lot of effort to digest non-vegetarian food, and also non-vegetarian food comes with its own karma. Ayurveda understands that. What does that mean is like, any action will have reaction. So if we decide to eat non-vegetarian food, obviously it will have karma attached to it. And so the consequences of that choice is really up to you. It could be just, strain on your digestion, or it could be something in relation to your karmic path. So it's really up to you, your choice. Ayurveda fully trusts that, you are wise enough to decide what is right for you. In other words, it's all about making conscious choices. And when we make conscious choices, we are also aware of consequences of our conscious choices. And from yogic point of view, though, if you're on the path of yoga, it is suggested that choose sattvic food that will help to calm the mind down. Non-vegetarian food is rajasic food. That means that creates a lot of rajas, which is a lot of activeness of the mind, also almost like angriness to the mind, which warrior needs. And that's why Ayurveda suggests that, warrior needs to have it so that they have this drive and then that need to fight with the enemy and also have the strength to fight, take the fight. They will get wounded, so they need all those muscle mass to protect themselves. With the yogic point of view, if you are living the life or want to live like life of yogi, where is you are moving towards peace and calm in your life, then sattvic food, your food choices will matter. Because if you notice that, say, let's take example of a very common drink, which is coffee. If we have 1 cup of coffee, that might be really uplifting and really nice. But if you take maybe 2 to 3 or 4 cups of coffee, it can be too much. And so we know that food affects our mind, and Ayurveda understands this very well. Also yoga understands this very well. So really you're wise and you choose what is right for your system. There is one thing which is very important to mention about Ayurveda's understanding of our digestion, where whatever we consume, our system will have, as I said, like action and reaction to it. And also when we have that food, if we see physical reaction, which can be that our system creates a toxic morbid waste of our digestive product, or our system literally digests everything, creates prana or creates a very positive energy which helps you thrive in your life. So if you are eating sattvic food, it will be easy to digest because it is gentle on our system. If you eat heavy food or non-vegetarian food, it is very difficult for our system to digest. And non-vegetarian food creates more ama. So if you're not able to digest it, just tune into that as well. And also notice that it will create more ama, that is toxic morbid waste of the system. And then we become more prone to illnesses. So just be mindful of all these things. Again, no judgment here. I do not suggest any food, vegetarian or non-vegetarian food is right for you. It's really up to you. And I stand by Ayurveda's approach, it is your choice. Next question is about meditation. So this question have been asked in many different forms. And the question is, what is meditation? Or why should I meditate? Or how do I start meditation? So I'm going to kind of combine all these questions together and I will answer them. So let's start with what is meditation. Meditation is bringing stillness of the mind. And why do we need it? Because our mind is extremely powerful tool. But what happens that when we are extremely busy with our mind, then we do not really have capacity to find peace and calm in our life. Why do we need peace and calm in our life? The reason for that is most of our thoughts are negative thoughts. Scientists have done research and they have found out how many thoughts we have. So we have somewhere 50 to 80,000 thoughts depending on your constitution. So from Ayurvedic point of view, there are 3 constitutions, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So depending on what type of constitution you have, you depending on that, you will have more or less thoughts. Obviously, it's not just constitution, Ayurvedic constitution, but also what we consume, what's happening in our life, what stage of life we are in, it all going to impact our mind. But constitution also plays a really big part. Let's assume that we have somewhere between 70,000 thoughts. Out of that, almost 80% thoughts are negative thoughts. This is human conditioning, and we all have this. So don't feel guilty that, oh my God, how do I have this many thoughts? It is truth. And so what happens that anything we repeat becomes a habit. So if you are repeating any thought, it become habit. So remember that, and then understand that when we are repeating our negative thoughts constantly, then it is creating negative loop or negative neurological groove in our system. We kind of like goes into, without us realizing, we have these neurological groove in our brain which are happened because of our constant negative thought patterns. And so it became now habit. And we, from the childhood, we never learn to really give our mind any direction. So mind is like unruly child, and it is running in all direction. It doesn't know how to behave, basically. And with meditation, what we can do is we become observer. And sometimes that's what mind needs, just awareness towards the mind. And when we give attention to this unruly child, which is our mind, it starts calming down. It starts slowing down, and we start seeing the beauty of our mind. We start seeing that, this one positive thought is injected every day. And what happens that over the period of time, our thought process become positive. So regular meditation practice is very important. So daily meditation practice. You don't have to do many hours of practice. You can do just 2 to 5 minutes practice, but do it daily. You can choose what time work for you, and start continuous practice, daily practice that will help you to bring in positivity in your thought process. And that helps us to really calm our system down, because we are mostly in sympathetic mode of the mind, which is fight or flight. That is also human conditioning, modern human conditioning. So with meditation, we can create rest and digest. We can create that peace in our mind. We can actually gain more clarity. We gain stillness. We gain more understanding of ourselves. We actually deepen our breath. There are so many positive side effects of meditation that we shouldn't really have any excuse that I'm not going to do meditation today. We should have excuse that this is so fantastic for me that I'm going to do it every day. But what happens that why we have these excuses, I totally understand that as well. I have been there. I totally understand. Because what happens that these meditation can be our mind, because we are trying to discipline our mind kind of like rebels against it. That could happen. Or B, it just mind doesn't know what it is. So it is kind of like hiding away from it. Also, a lot of time we are not prepared to take a pause and turn our attention inwards, because we are so used to constantly looking outwards. All our senses are looking outwards. The moment we stop and start looking inwards, there is a lot of fear comes up. And that is also reality, that a lot of people don't like the thought patterns they have, or there is judgment there. So in meditation, we drop all these judgment. We just observe what is coming up. Also, if there is childhood trauma, or if there is any trauma in your life, it is difficult to find stillness in meditation. So what can we do is we actually then learn how to still the mind through different practices, like gentle asana practices, yoga practices. Yoga's breathing practices are designed for that. Then you can also learn to relax through yoga's relaxation practices. There are also beautiful relaxation practices which modern science has created called progressive relaxation and other stuff like that. You can choose what works for you, but bring that stillness, that peace and calm in your life. One of my client tells me that he really loves salt floats, those tanks where there is a salt water and you float in that because it gives that he started understanding stillness through that experience. So whichever works for you, really, where can you find stillness, and bring that in your life. Once you learn that, then you can try and understand meditation will be the next step. So first we need to bring in understanding of stillness through gentle practices, which really help you understand what stillness is, like nature walk, connecting with nature, gardening. All these can be tools to calm our system down, and then you can move towards meditation. So take one step at a time. That's what I would suggest. Then next question is, if meditation is this fantastic, how do I bring it in my life? When should I meditate? And this usually question comes from people who have read about the meditation that you need to get up really early in the morning, 4 a.m. And time between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. is the best. So you need to get up at that time. And to be very frank, that is a really big ask. If you have like a full-time job, kids, family life. So I suggest that find time which will work for you. Experiment a little bit. Experiment what is going to work for you. Once you identify that, okay, this time really works really good for me, then you can sit for meditation. And I suggest that start with, if you have very busy life, start with just 2 minutes to 5 minutes. Don't force anything. Don't let meditation be another stress of your life. That's my suggestion. And initially start with guided meditation. Another question comes up that I cannot sit on floor cross-legged. You don't have to. You don't have to. You can sit on chair. Just the only important thing for meditation is that you sit up nice and tall. You can take as much support as you need, but make sure that the spine is elongated and make sure that there is activeness yet relaxation in that our spine. And what we're trying to do with the meditation is the energy rises from the tailbone towards crown of your head. So you want that energy to move very gently. If you lie down, then that becomes relaxation. That's not meditation. There is a vast difference in the state of energy in these both stages. So I suggest for meditation, sit up. You can, and if you are really beginner or if you really want to change your practice as well, guided meditation is way to go. Initially, we need some anchor so that guided meditation, the voice in the meditations can be your anchor. Now, if you need, you can later choose to just guide yourself, or you can use breath as your anchor once you learn how to use the meditation techniques, either mantra or breath or body scan, something like that. You can use that. You can also use deity, the beautiful energies of deity. If they rise for you in meditation, you can choose them depending on what is right for you. Really, again, it is very unique for your need. Also, a lot of people try different things every day. I suggest that take one practice which you really love. Make sure that your system likes the practice. If your system doesn't like the practice, please don't do that. That means our system is rejecting the practice. We don't need it. But if your system really loves certain practice, you can then take that practice for at least 21 consecutive days and see the effects of that practice. And this is called sadhana in wisdom of yoga. So what is sadhana means regular practice. Sometimes it's called, translated as spiritual practice, not necessarily sadhana means practice, really. And so you take maybe 21 days sadhana, and you can, every day you are going to do the same practice, similar time, maybe 2 to 5 minutes, and try and find out what time works for you. So initially, you may change the time of the day. You may do one day in the morning and then next day, maybe evening. But I suggest over the period of time, try and find out what time really works for you and stick to the time as well. Once you completed this practice for 21 days, you actually created a positive neurological groove in your system. So you created a positive habit. Now you can take it further. You can do maybe 40 days of practice. You can use the same practice, or you can go a little bit deeper depending on what feels right for you. You can continue with the same practice. I have done the same practice for years and years. You can continue with the same practice till your system tells you that, it is time to move on to next practice. Also understand that, is it your mind telling you or is it your system telling you? So try and understand that difference as well. Now, these are the suggestions for meditation practice. So next question is, I always get asked about the diet in Ayurveda, and there are a lot of confusing information floating on internet. And also, there is also a bit of a question about, like, I never use these foods, or I have a lot of food allergies, and Ayurveda suggests this, and it doesn't agree with my system. What should I do? Again, let's look at Ayurveda's point of view from very practical point of view. It is a medical science. If something doesn't agree with your system, that means your system is rejecting that. So we're going to tune into that as well. We're going to try and understand that why the system is rejecting that, why there is that irritation. If you have allergies, Ayurveda is look at it like there is inflammation of some sort. And then we will work with the inflammation rather than force you with that food. So Ayurveda is, again, as I said, it's a very practical science, and it is a medical science. So you will, when you go to the Ayurveda practitioner or book a consultation with me, I will ask you questions which may feel a bit weird, but it is about your digestion. The first question I ask is, how is your digestion? Tell me what time you go in. Do you go in the morning? Do you go every day? So in Ayurveda, the pooping is very important, and when that function is not working well, then Ayurveda practitioner look into like why it is happening, how can we resolve this? Because once your digestion is working well, your whole system is working well. So that's why the toxic morbid waste of digestive system is actually big no. We actually try and reduce that as much as possible. And in Ayurveda, we don't suggest the herbs first thing. We'll try and suggest you bring in positive habits, because dinacharya or daily habits is very, very important in Ayurveda. Also, I was asked that, it sounds very rigid. It's not really, there are many, many positive habits there, but you can actually choose what is going to work for you the best. At the moment, in the tribe, the wellness tribe, which I have, it is a 12 months program. You can join anytime. In this program, every month we take one habit or two habits, depending on what's happening in person's life. And we take these habits, all of us do it together, and we come back with if there is any issue or anything working or not working. And we help each other to bring in these positive habits in our life. I am there to support everyone if there are any questions. So if you're interested in something like that, you can actually become part of our the Wellness Tribe. And Wellness Tribe, intention behind is bring Ayurveda into your life. Why daily habits important? You may not call it Ayurveda, that's okay, but daily habits are extremely important. We know that, so many successful people will tell us that as well. Like, having those rituals, those positive rituals are very important. So bring in the positive habits to aid your digestion, and bring in habits which will help you to reduce inflammation in your system. So that will be Ayurveda's first goal. If your mind is extremely busy, even then we will look into the diet, because all sometimes we need to do is change the diet, and that will help you to reduce the busyness of the mind. I'll give you example. One of my friend was telling me that she's going through something. Her mind just can't calm down. So I asked her what she eats, and she eats very healthy food. According to her, she was eating very healthy food, which was salads and raw smoothies and everything raw. What happened that for her system, though, she being Vata person, Vata means air and space dominant constitution, it has actually triggered her mind's busyness. So I suggested to her actually eat steamed sweet potato with little bit of ginger and garlic, and saute it and have that. She can have like a oregano on top of that, and some herbs and spices to make it tasty, and have a drizzle of olive oil. And she was comfortable with that kind of food, so I suggested that, and that has helped her to basically calm her system down, help her find grounding in her life. Now, this is a really different approach to modern nutrition. And so we try and find out that balance in Ayurveda, where if the mind is too light and floating constantly too busy, then we'll bring grounding. How can we bring grounding? Then we'll tune into what the client is eating, what is affecting the mind, and we'll reduce what is affecting, and we'll add what is positive. So this is Ayurveda's approach. Everyone is different. This doesn't mean that if your mind is busy, you start eating sweet potato. I'm not suggesting that, because I don't know you personally. So, until I know you, I will not suggest any diet. So understand that as well, that every individual is unique fingerprint of divine. So this is very important in Ayurveda. So that means that we don't put boxes around like, this is going to work for everyone. No, we're going to tune into what's happening in your life at this point. What basically we'll consider your age, we'll consider the time of the year, what's happening with the in your life, stress situation, and then the practices are given accordingly. So just be mindful of that. We are going to tune into your system and suggest you, but you don't have to completely adapt Ayurvedic diet. It's not about that. It's just the suggestion that your system, so if you're never used to eat rice, we'll not suggest you to eat rice. That's not the point, It is, so you don't have to start eating khichdi, but how can you bring in more vegetables in your diet? Like that will be the question I will ask you. How can you have a wholesome diet which will be easy for you to digest without inflaming your system? So we are going to tune into that kind of stuff. So Ayurvedic diet doesn't mean that you become completely, Indian vegetarian food. That's not what it is about. So you can actually tailor-made this diet according to your need and your system and your taste buds. Okay. Next question, going deeper in meditation. So I have been asked this question in two different formats. So one question was, when I'm meditating, sometimes I feel very sleepy and I feel like I need that sleep, and I just don't know if I'm meditating or I'm sleeping. And then the second question is, am I sleeping or I'm going deeper in meditation? What really happening? Like I never experienced this kind of like stillness, which is I was awake, but I was asleep. Like what was happening, So let me answer these two questions. I combined them, but they're not really same question. They're different. So first thing, We need to understand that in meditation, if you are feeling sleepy, that means your system needs that rest. That means your system is a little bit sleep deprived. So, how can you find sleep in your life? How can you find more rest in your life? So, work on that, find out more solutions to bring in more relaxation and peace and calm in your life. Maybe you need a little bit extra sleep, or maybe you need a nana nap, or maybe you need a completely chilled day. At least one of the day in your week need to be you just rest. If you need that, if you see in your meditation that you feel sleepy, then bring in that chill day in your life, and that should resolve the sleep deprivedness. About going deeper in meditation, or about the state you feel like you're sleeping at the same time you're quite wide awake, and this is the we can call it beginning state of meditation. So you are experiencing what we call dharana state in meditation. So dharana means now you can hold the stillness for a few more moments. You can start going a little bit deeper in meditation. So you can start doing a little bit longer meditation practices if that works for you. If not, you can actually, if you are, say, doing breath meditation, if you're comfortable, you can actually connect with me or your meditation teacher and talk with them and see how can you deepen your 5 minutes meditation practice a little bit more. How can you do that? There are different techniques like using mantras and things like that. You can go actually deeper in meditation. So choose that kind of like option. Again, you can always connect with me through my website, email me, book a consultation if you want, and then I will help you to design the practices. If you are in the state of more stillness now, you can go a little bit deeper into the practice and see what happens, what is the next stage in meditation. There was also a question about legs fall asleep in meditation. If your legs are falling asleep, I suggest that, change your sitting posture. You can find maybe chair or something like that where your feet are resting on the floor, your legs are comfortable, and you're sitting comfortably. So try and find comfort in your posture and see if that works for you. If not, again, feel free to connect with me. I can go through that. Sometimes the resistance is coming from physical self. Sometimes it's coming from mental or emotional state. Mental or emotional self. If that's happening, we need different understanding there. So this is why we need some guidance in meditation. So feel free to connect with me. I'm happy to help you. But if you don't want to do that, no pressure. Find out if changing sitting posture will help you, and take it from there. It may just resolve the issue of legs falling asleep. I have been asked about any specific poses to work with the vagal nerve, and also any specific poses, yoga poses for mental clarity. I have been asked any specific poses for anxiety or depression. To be very frank, if you start moving with awareness, conscious awareness into your asana practice, if you slow down, do gentle practices with a lot of awareness, this will give answer to all these questions. Any lengthening, stretching, and all yoga poses really work with the vagal nerve. With anxiety, you need to bring in more stillness practices, more calming practices. So asana practice or movement should be relaxing. And so tune into like how can I bring in more awareness into what's happening in this now. When you start doing that for both for depression and anxiety, you will notice that awareness into in that moment in our whole being, how arm is lengthening, or how we are what's happening with the muscles in the legs, or what's happening with our abdominal muscles, our back, what is stretching, what is lengthening, what is contracting. When we become aware of these things, we start noticing our breath, we start noticing sensations in the body. And when we connect with ourselves, all it does is we go deeper in our practice. And what happens, that side effect of that is it helps us to reduce anxiety as well as depression. So there is not a formula as such. I know that people say that, yoga for anxiety or yoga for depression and things like that. Yes, you can modify the practices, but understand that your awareness can create it. So you can actually tune into yourself in the practices. Another thing is, if you have very anxious mind, I suggest that switch off music during the practice. And that will also reduce the one more external stimulus in your practice. So I suggest that, music can be very relaxing. I totally agree. But if you are doing asana practice, focus on asana practice. Use that as your entire focus. You are noticing your breath, you are noticing what's happening in the body, you are noticing your breath, your mind, what's happening. Really connect with your system, and that will resolve all these things. And every day our practice is different, so there is no really repeating of the poses. Every down dog is different. Even if you do it, say, in the morning and in the evening, it's different, because in this now, in this moment, if you connect here, there is no repetition, right? The only truth is this moment. So these practices, awareness in asana practice helps us to connect with our in this now. And when we connect with this now, yoga starts here. Atha yoga anushasanam. Yoga starts here in this moment, in this now, atha. So it will help you to connect with yourself in this now. So I suggest that become really more aware of what's happening in your body. Notice sensations, notice any physical sensations, any thoughts rising, notice what's happening with your emotion. Really become really good observer. And you can actually then take this understanding off your mat in your life and really start observing what's happening with your breath when you're anxious, and how can you then reduce that. You can then lengthen your breath, calm down more, like deepen your breath, become aware of your whole being. And actually sometimes that helps to reduce the anxiety attack. So tune into your breath. You can even like lengthen your breath, connect with sole of your feet. All these things will help you really become aware what's happening in this now, in this moment. Turn your awareness inwards, just like what we do in meditation. Let the asana practice become your meditation practice or meditative practice. And that will resolve all these things about working with vagal nerve, or reducing anxiety, or reducing depression. And it's really positive impact, when we become aware of movements. It could be Tai Chi, that's fine. Any movement with awareness becomes yoga. So find that union of mind, body, breath, soul, all this coming together is true yoga. I hope that these answers to your question has helped you. You can always email me and I will try and answer your questions again. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate you. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate that you're taking this time out of your day. Don't forget to subscribe. Take care. Bye for now.